Everybody, this is Nash here, coming at y'all with another Texas Longhorn football video. Hope y'all are having a great week. Yesterday, we talked about the Texas offensive line improving, specifically in the run game. It was kind of weird. Last year, we were lacking in the pass blocking, had a better run blocking, and this year our pass blocking it's just flipped. But the run blocking is improving, and I'll go ahead and flash up some of these stats right here for you that we looked up at yesterday. The bottom line, that's going to be your current blocking stats. There's some of the definitions. Pay attention to this opportunity rate. The percentage of carries basically means when the offensive line is getting their job done. What are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? Now, we talked about this yesterday, so we're not going to talk about it again. Today, what we're talking about is going to be the Texas Longhorn running backs. We're pairing them with the offensive line stats that we saw yesterday. And we are going to be looking at, we do have some basic stats like yards per carry. That's really the only basic stat that we have. But we're going to be comparing the Texas Longhorn running backs, Bijan Robinson, Roschon Johnson, Jonathon Brooks, Keilan Robinson, with some of the top running backs in college football today around the Big 12, SEC, ACC, Pac-12, Big 10. And as always, don't forget to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about some of these statistics that we're going to be looking at today. I'll give you my thoughts at the end. I want to hear your thoughts. So we're going to be jumping straight into the offensive line rank, the Football Outsiders offensive line rank, combining the advanced rushing statistics that you can look at for the offensive line, going and adding up their ranks. So, for example, the Ohio State line is ranked first in every single advanced rushing category, looking at the offensive line, outside of the power rate. So, they come to an 11.5. Obviously, if you get rid of the power rate, they're the best line in the nation when it comes to run blocking. And it's not even close. So, their running backs should be finishing at the top through all these stats. I mean, their offense, they got a very good offensive line. I want to really, really, really reiterate how good their offensive line is playing. That would be a dream for Texas. Kind of Bijan Robinson might be scratching his head wondering if he made the right decision. I think he did, personally. Love that he came to Texas, but that offensive line's good. Now, looking at the yards per carry, right there you see number one is going to be Mayan Williams and I hope I pronounced that first name correctly, for Ohio State. And right off the bat, you look, Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson pop out. They're in the bottom half and when I say bottom half of the running backs, these are the top running backs in college football. Like, most of these dudes are going to end up getting drafted. So, just have that, most or all. Let me say that. Now, not all these dudes are going to get drafted, but there's a chance. And there's only so much that you can really say on the yards per carry, because this is, when you look at it, this is going to be the most basic statistic that we look at for the running backs today. But just when you look at the top of the running backs in the nation, Roschon Johnson and Bijan Robinson, they're just not there right now for the yards per carry. Well, what about yards after contact? This is where things really start to get interesting. So Keilan Robinson, he represents the middle mark of all these running backs. We have 17 running backs, and the 9th running back, the guy in the middle, that represents the middle. And we have every single running back of ours that we're looking at today in the top of these running backs. Now, I threw Keilan Robinson and Jonathon Brooks in just for fun, just to see where they were. And you'll also notice, why is their offensive line blank? And that is on purpose. The reason why I did that on purpose is because their sample size was so small, it just really, you can't even get a decent comparison looking at the 1 year, this year so far. So I combined both of their last years, 2021 and 2022. So Keilan Robinson, he does not have any stats from Alabama coming with this. This is all of his time at Texas. And then the same thing for Jonathon Brooks. So while Jonathon Brooks, he's up there, and you're not going to find a bigger Jonathon Brooks fan than me. I promise you, you won't. Take it a little bit with a grain of salt right now, okay? Especially when they're getting later carries towards the end of the game. Also, another reason is Football Outsiders, they throw away the garbage time stats. So the line stats from just this year aren't going to represent the overall total of their carries, as well as the fact that the line that they're running with this year is not the starting offensive line for the most part. I mean, by the time Jonathon Brooks gets in the games, and Keilan Robinson too, you're going to start to see more guys like DJ Campbell get mixed in. Some of these number 2 guys, Cameron Williams. So the current Texas offensive line stats aren't going to be a great indication of what Keilan Robinson and Jonathon Brooks are running behind. Now, when we move over to the missed tackles forced, this is when you really, like, this to me, and I know, yeah, obviously, it's really easy to look at it and say, well, you're just looking at it from the point of the Texas Longhorn running backs are all there, so that's why you like this stat the most. And the answer is yes. But there's also another, I'm going to give you a realistic answer. So if you look up here and you see Bucky Irving and Bijan Williams, okay? They both have, across the board, very good offensive line play. And then their advanced statistics, for the most part, are pretty dark green in this area. But unlike some of these other statistics that you're going to see in a little bit, because you see this, the offensive line play is pretty separated. You know? You have a good offensive line on the very bottom. You have a good offensive line somewhere there in the middle. And they're separated. So I don't think there's a lot of correlation between having a good offensive line and forcing a missed tackle per carry. I think missed tackles forced per carry, like when you go and you say, okay, yeah, dude's run 200 carries, right? But he's forced 50 missed tackles. That's the same as the dude who's run 100 carries and forced 25 missed tackles. So when you go and you look at their carries and you break it down for however many carries it takes to get to a missed tackle, it's going to be the same as the 100 guy to the 200 guy in that example. But I think this stat is very indicative of the running back and how good is the running back. How good are they at making a guy miss? Because it doesn't matter whether you have an offensive line blocking for you or not. When you go and you look at it, not just the missed tackles number, but when you put it down to a per carry basis, yeah, when a guy starts to come and tackle you, are you making a miss? I don't care if the offensive line has done their job and kept guys from being able to make an attempt at tackling you, because those guys are going to have less missed tackle forced than the other guys by nature of having less guys attempt to tackle them. But if you're a dude, you're still going to make them miss. Point blank. And what better example for that than Travion Henderson and Bijan Williams, who are running on the same offensive line. Yes, they're probably getting different carry opportunities in terms of where are they running, how far to go, all that type of stuff. But Bijan Williams is making dudes miss, and Travion Henderson isn't. Now, that is not to say Travion Henderson is a bad running back, but he's not making guys miss, is what it comes down to. And then now we're really going to start to get into the stats that I think you start to see not a strong correlation, but you're going to start to see a correlation between these stats coming up and good offensive line play. So, 10-yard rushes. So these are the amount of times a guy is rushed above 10 yards, but how many carries did it take for him to get there? Okay? So, in this example, Jonathon Brooks, for every 4.25 rushes that he has, 4.25 rushes, he's going to have a 10-yard plus carry. And like I was saying, you're starting to see that the offensive line is starting to condense. All the good offensive line play is starting to condense at the top, and the bad stuff is starting to condense down lower. And so, to really kind of highlight that correlation that I was talking about, if you look at this, I mean, there's far more green on this board than there is anything that's a very neutral color or red color. And like I said, the ninth box is halfway down, so I have Travion Henderson half blocked out. But you go back to the previous screen again. So I mean, I think you do start to see a correlation, and then also here you go up here. Now Jonathon Brooks, that would be nice. Jonathon Brooks, his vision is very, very good. And I think that this stat goes along with that, because when he hits a hole, he hits it hard. And he seems to know where the hole is going to be. And then as a hole is opening up through a run, he knows exactly where that one's starting to form. I mean, he's the best way that I can ever think of Jonathon Brooks, and I'm probably going overboard, but this is where I say you're not going to find a bigger Jonathon Brooks fan than me. He's like Spider-Man if Spider-Man were running a football. I mean, I swear, it's like he had 8 eyes, and he knows exactly where things are. The dude is... I'm going to stop myself. And then again, carries per first down. I mean, it makes just a ton of sense that, yes, the better offensive lines, the guys that... And I said we're going to look at something here in a second. Okay? When the guys are doing their job, remember that stat that we were talking about, the offensive line stat? When the offensive line overall is doing their job, and you look and you see the opportunity rate, yeah, the offensive line overall, when they do their job, typically the other things are higher ranked as well. And that is a direct correlation with the carries per first down. So when you look at how many carries does it take for a running back to get to a first down carry, you see of the 7 names, 5 of them have an offensive line that is in the top 5 of opportunity rate, meaning, and again, when we go and look at that stat right here, the percentage of carries when 4 yards are available that gain at least 4 yards. So basically, when the offensive line does their job and gets things done. Now, a quick refresher, you look at this, obviously I put up the missed tackles per carry, or carries per missed tackle forced. So, Roschon Johnson is forcing a missed tackle under every 2 carries. So for every 2 carries, he's forcing a missed tackle. And that's better. That's the best in the nation among the top of the running backs. Among the top running backs. So again, I think there are things that are obvious. There's obvious correlation between good offensive line play and good statistics for the running back. But I think there's also some statistics that say, hey, offensive line play, it doesn't have anything to do with it. But I hope I was able to kind of stay on track for this video and not ramble on and sound too incoherent. I think that this Texas Longhorn running back room obviously is among the best in the nation if you look at that missed tackles forced, and then also you go to yards after contact. I mean, the only one where you really start to, as far as these advanced stats go, is you see some real separation in the running back room. But again, that's a pretty basic statistic, and there are things that kind of start to affect these first down carries, these other statistics like yards per attempt. If you're a guy that's going and you're a power rushing guy, you're going to see a lot more chances at a first down carry. And also your yards per carry is probably going to be lower. And I think that's shown pretty good here when you look at the Roschon Johnson at 2.71 yards or 2.71 carries per first down versus Bijan Robinson 3.42 carries per first down. Roschon Johnson is getting more of these, not goal line, but yeah, he is getting more goal line. I would even say Roschon Johnson doesn't get as much goal line stuff. He does more of the fourth down, we need a first down right here stuff. But, again, hope y'all were able to take something away from this video. This was a deep, deep dive into the running backs, the top of the running backs, and seeing where the Texas Longhorn running backs rank among them. And it is my belief that if we had the best offensive line, if we had a top offensive line in the nation like Ohio State, that these dudes would have all great. It would look like a forest up there for the Texas Longhorn running backs. And again, do not sleep on Jonathon Brooks. All right, everybody. Hope you all have a great day. Hook 'em!